Holy gun symbolism, Batman! Tiki here, and, as a novice to Batman the Animated Series, one day, long ago, BlueDragonFive was like, Tiki, this is inexcusable. You cannot just go your whole life and not watch Batman the Animated Series. Take my hand, sir, take my hand, and through the internet, I shall guide you.
Yeah, you see, folks, another way of putting it is long ago, I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way.
And tonight we're talking about episode, I don't have the episode written down, Dragon, sorry. What episode number is it?
Well, this is the season finale, episode 28.
Dreams in Darkness.
Yep.
That's right, this is the season finale, Dragon. This is the last pre-Phantasm episode of Batman the Animated Series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, and do you know what that means, Dragon?
Oh, I know what that means. That means we're coming close to something big.
Well, it means I'm finally ready. It means I'm finally all caught up, and now I can actually watch Phantasm and, get everything.
Oh yeah, as soon as we're done here, Tiki he's more than... It's going to be up to him to watch it.
I'm chomping at the bits, Dragon. Trust me, I'm watching it tonight.
That as soon as we're done this, he gets the okay. We're going to see if he earns it, though. We're gonna judge his progress at the end of this.
Oh God. Okay, so Dreams in Darkness, Dragon. This is honestly for me. I'm not sure how the fan base feels about it. I know that we're gonna get more trippy and some alternate reality episodes, some hallucination episodes, some dream episodes down the line. I believe, from what I know about the series, it kind of becomes a signature. This is an interesting as hell blueprint for that kind of stuff, and in that way, I really dug this episode. I'm sure that episodes like Perchance to Dream are going to kind of one up it in that regard. But as a first kind of really signature trippy episode of Batman the Animated Series, yeah, this was pretty damn good. It very much stood out. It kind of has a film noir style with Kevin Conroy's narration. It's got this great mystery flavor to it. This sort of it hits you right off the bat, oh my God, Batman in a padded cell. What's going on here? It just really draws you in. It's a great 22-minute mystery. It kind of speaks volumes to what you and I have been discussing about each episode of the animated series being a mini movie in its own right. So, yeah, personally, I really definitely give it this thumbs up.
All right, this is a really big episode. It's a really important episode, not just for Batman the Animated Series, but really kind of for the fabric of Batman. So let me build to that a little. So this episode was directed by Dick Sebast. Dick Sebast, best known for kind of his masterwork that's going to be kind of on the horizon of season 2. Again, big kind of thing we're going to be getting into not too long from now. Robin's Reckoning, that was kind of his big high note that he kind of left on. And this episode was written by Judith and sorry, I'm trying to get this right here. It's Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens. They're a married couple. They have kind of an extended name, so it's Judith and Garfield. And now they're combined. I think there's a hyphen involved. Reeves Stevens.
Mm.
So yeah, go figure. Anyway, so they wrote this, and they have some comics experience on Batman, kind of obscure comics. I think they've done some novelizations of certain stories. It's not like a main comic, but it's like something on the side type.
Right.
Type thing. So they have some Batman experience, but obscure Batman experience. The animation studio. This surprised me on the rewatch because I forgot about this. This is actually not one of our main animation studios who did this one. I don't know if they did any other work. There might have been a one-shot, to be frank. But I mean, we might see them again when we come across some of the other seasons. But Studio Junio did this one. Studio Junio, another overseas studio. Again, not really a talked about one a lot. It's kind of slips in under the radar because this episode looks really good. I will say this: the episode looks kind of a little like. It's between Sunrise or Spectrum. It's a little bit like Spectrum, just not as flourishy as Spectrum. Spectrum being the top of the heap. So I think this episode's well animated.
Yeah, it does stand out. It does have its own unique style to it, I think.
Right. Let's see. This I believe this actually. Sorry, T, can you say something for me?
Why is my audio cutting out
Yeah,
again?
it's doing the same thing as before. You might want to.
Really?
I'll walk
Oh,
him through. I'll walk him through the
yeah,
stuff.
go ahead and walk me through. I'll be right back. That's weird.
Sure. Anyway, folks. So so this episode was adapted from a story from the comics, from the story Mask from the comics. It's actually from this from a further adventure of the further adventures of the Joker. It was kind of again kind of like an off the beaten path story. It was kind of adapted from that story. This episode, it's very popular for Batman in film because we see this all the time in a lot of other Batman works. It's definitely you don't get Arkham Asylum without this episode. I think. I mean, Arkham Asylum was a pre-existing location. You know, Joker taking reign over the asylum. Yes, that exists, but I mean, kind of getting an intimate, like kind of a Batman in a very precarious situation in Arkham. This is really pulling from this episode, which again is kind of an adaptation of a comic story. So they could always say, "Oh, it was in the comic." But I think this is very much kind of a popular, like a Batman in the asylum, and he's kind of trapped in the asylum. So again, we've seen this really the plot line for this episode. We've really seen kind of recycled in the main plot of Batman Begins, with poisoning the water supply of Gotham, and Batman Triumphant. Very much derivative of this in the premises of those films.
Okay, what about now? Am I
Yeah,
coming?
you're great now.
Okay.
Great now. Okay, so
That doesn't happen again.
hopefully. So yeah, so Batman Last Arkham, that's the other main comic source. Again, so this episode gets adapted a lot in the comics and other Batman works. That's pretty much what I've been saying, Tiki, is that this episode is very much, it's based on the story Mask, which is also based on, kind of turned up to another story called Batman Last Arkham, which essentially is, it's your classic Batman Arkham Asylum story, and he's kind of trapped in Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And again, years later, we get, Batman Triumphant was going to have like a similar, was going to have Scarecrow and have a kind of a similar Batman hallucinating plot.
And of
And
course, Arkham Asylum, the video game.
Exactly, and you don't get Arkham Asylum the game without this. You don't get Batman Triumphant with the plot line was Batman was going to hallucinate that the Joker, was the Jack Nicholson Joker was back, and of course the most famous example and the famous correlation of why this episode is kind of important in the fabric of Batman. Batman Begins. We need that to get kind of that Scarecrow plot line of like underneath Arkham, like he's poisoning the water supply. You get that from this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. This episode famously got the closest. And again, the rule of the series was we were never going to flash back and show directly, the Wayne murder. This episode probably gets the closest to showing that. We go to Crime Alley in a really trippy sequence, and we allude to what happens very, very strongly, very trippy, very memorably. And
this is one of those things I was kind of surprised got past the censors. Just this blatant gun imagery.
Amazingly. Oh yeah, and again, it's definitely a song and dance because you really had the fight for blood, and I think it's because we know we'll get to the sequence later on. Let's put a pin in that. Anyway, so again, the point is this episode informs a lot of later Batman, particularly the games, and honestly, what we see of Arkham Asylum itself a lot of the time. So, all that said, let's dive right into it.
Okay, so we have a new arrival at Arkham Asylum, and the hallucinations they've stopped after a long while, but it's been an ordeal. It's been an ordeal, Dragon. This new patient has not been getting on well. And then when we open the cell doors in a twist right off the bat, who is it?
Batman.
Dun dun dun.
Here's a fun fact: the doctor in this, Dr. Bartholomew. I think this is the first time he's introduced. At the very least, this is the first time we spend any time with him. So, Dr. Bartholomew, he's a combination of two characters. He's a combination of a character from The Dark Knight Returns. He's a combination of the Michael McKean character from the animated movie, who was remember the therapist who was trying to like kind of cure Harvey Dent, then cure the Joker, and then kind of like get famous off of it. The guy who wrote all the self-help books. That was Dr. Sorry?
Vaguely.
Yeah, basically, he was the guy with the anti-Superman shirt. He said the main thing is his name was Dr. Bartholomew Whopper. It's where they got the name from, and just kind of a quack doctor. And you also have the main character that Bartholomew is influenced of, and I think they just didn't want to blow their wad. And this character came into vogue a lot years after this story. So, Dr. Jeremiah Arkham. Arkham is the
Cool.
guy where you get the name Arkham Asylum from.
Yeah, and that's obviously, as I was watching this episode, I kind of figured it was a stand-in for that character to a certain extent.
For some reason, I think it's because in the comics we learned the Arkham family has like a really dark history, has a really dark kind of family history, like the origins of Arkham Asylum. I'll tell you about it some other time, but the point is, I think that's why they kind of skirt around the Arkham stuff. But again, they just kind of reach the medium in case they ever wanted to introduce Jeremiah Arkham, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So let's see. So again, so Batman's in a straitjacket. That's a big image of the episode, and he's and it's definitely it's very
about getting a hold of Gordon.
Yeah, the Doctor's chatting with Batman through the door, and he's Batman very urgently is asking him to contact Gordon or Doctor Wu, and Doctor Wu, who we meet in the movie flashback.
And Dragon, of course, as soon as I hear Doctor Wu, I'm just like, oh, Jurassic Park.
Oh, you're thinking of the wrong Batman show, Tiki.
I know.
Anyway, so Batman, in this urgency, he's perceived as still delusional and having hallucinations, and he needs more time.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells Bartholomew, "We don't have more time." No, Batman, there's always time to heal. So this is a classic premise, not just in Batman, but the classic premise, like in storytelling, where you have the classic horror story of the sane man in an asylum.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to see kind of the Batman version of that, considering asylums are all over Batman.
Oh yeah.
And I think we also get a sense in this episode. I like years later on the rewatch, you get a sense of why Arkham necessarily isn't helping anyone fast.
Yeah, it's like they have this reputation of like, oh yeah, we take in these masked crazy people and we reform them, but it's like, no, it's actually more like kind of a clubhouse for the crazy people more than anything else.
I like that on a kids show, on a Saturday morning show, we are kind of have that subtle message of sometimes mental institutions they are gonna either do more harm or not do much. They aren't going to help as much as they reportedly do.
Right.
So, all right. So basically, from that introduction like that, what the heck's going on here? How did Batman end up here? Batman gives, as Tiki alluded to, a kind of noirish inner monologue, kind of giving us a flashback to the lead up to that kind of checking in with Batman. We had the opening.
I have this. I have the first couple sentences written down, Dragon.
What do you got?
There's always time to heal, the doctor told me, but he was wrong. There was no time left, not for me, not for him, and not for Gotham City. And now there's nothing to do but remember what happened from the beginning.
Yeah. So he got to lead to something big that was going on at Gotham Health Springs Spa. So he went to a health spring. And he was expecting a robbery, but he goes to the pump room to discover an intruder, Torchy. That's who this guy is. He's an original. Like, we need just like a henchman, so we just kind of gave him. It's a henchman with a gimmick named Torchy. That's pretty much what this guy is. And he does have a cool design. I will give him that. He does have kind of a neat design with like the drill and the interchangeable drill and torch attachment.
Drill guy.
Yeah, let's do the same effect. Just Torchy.
Pretty much.
Anyway, so Torchy's being instructed by an unseen boss to tamper with the pump, to tamper with the water supply at the health spring. Mm-hmm. And we have this great, now this is one of the iconic shots from the series. This is like a lot of stills you'll see if people talking about Batman, they're going to pull this shot. It's Batman emerging in shadow, and this is the shot that people use a lot of the time of him kind of like coming up behind him, at like basically like the cape. Batman from the top to the cape down is shrouded, but he has the exposed kind of symbol and everything.
Sure, like kind of the ultimate like Batman in silhouette kind of look.
Oh yeah, it's one of the biggies.
Uh-huh.
So Batman attempts to foil Torchy from poisoning the drink. What he thinks is poisoning the drinking water, which is essentially what he's trying to do. He tosses a batarang to sever the torch line. Basically sever the line so he can't like kind of drill into it anymore. Let's see we have a man on. This is a cool device. We see on Torchy's helmet. There's like a camera, so we get a sense of Batman while he's fighting the henchman. The man orchestrating all this is also kind of he's involved in the fight. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So and I love the tip off here is that this man on the camera is like, he's been expecting Batman and he has a plan. This is all part of a plan, which is like for you, the viewing audience, you know, okay, something bad's about to happen here. Batman's walking into a trap and he doesn't even know it.
Exactly. I love the literary device of the foreshadowing here. It's like, okay, this is the start of a very bad day. Like, how are we going to build up to it?
Oh yeah. So Torchy, he flips like the 20-second switch, like there's a little countdown clock. I love the old timey countdown clocks, by the way. I love how they have like the flipping numbers instead of like a
Oh, we've got a
digital.
bunch of them in this episode.
It's great. Oh, the timeless setting. Wonderful. So Torchy flips the switch. We use a cool. He uses the cool drill attachment. Now the torch is kind of shot. So now he's using the awesome drill fight. You know, well animated. You know, it's a real tense, it's a real tense fight where he almost impales Batman with the drill. It's real close.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Batman he kind of gets out of the way of the drill and redirects it so it drills into a pipe. To a steam pipe, which kind of like the kind of steam kind of it's hot and it kind of blinds him for a moment, kind of separates the two of them. Batman goes to Batman. What he does, he severs like the drinking water pipe, so like the device won't be. So basically, the device that's been put into motion won't tamper with the water, so like he'll sever the connection. He removes the water pipe and he douses. Basically, he dodges Torchy's attack while he's doing so. Like the water's spurting from the thing, and it gets the device all wet, and then Torchy kind of falls on the device as he's running, and Batman dodges him. So the effect is, Torchy, he smashed the device, and in smashing the electronic device, the water pipe breaks, all this water cascades on him, and the device emanates this red gas that gets everywhere. It's important. This red gas, and there's some electrical stuff that goes haywire, and Torchy's covered in water, so he's kind of electrocuted, and not to death, but he's kind of he definitely has his Zets put into him, to say the least. And he's in no condition to talk or explain what the heck this red gas is, like what's going on, who's he working for, any of those questions kind of off the table. He's kind of he's with the lights on, but nobody's home right now.
Right. But he does have the device, and then one half of the video communication link.
Batman has what he could salvage from the guy at the Batcave.
Yeah. He thought that it would have no effect on him, but he was wrong again.
Now, this is always a great bit right here. You never see this honestly, you never see this till Batman Beyond years later. This is a memorable image. You don't get this
startled by Alfred.
Well, more so what he sees in the back computer. So,
okay.
The gas takes effect, and we see an image you won't see until not even Batman Beyond, until you see until the Batman Beyond Return of the Joker movie, Joker in the Batcave.
Oh yeah, okay, right, of course.
Yeah, basically, this great startling image where you see the Joker like kind of creeping up behind Batman. Batman's like the shock on his face, like it's a comic cover from the old days, kind of put into animation, and like his reaction, like he's charging, he's about to grab the Joker by the lapels, and then of course realizes, Alfred.
Yeah, and I love that moment of realization, like, oh my god, what am I thinking? Like, this is okay, this is bad. We need to start doing research on this right away now.
So Batman, he kind of tries to write off his exhaustion at first. Alfred gives Batman some files on the water, basically on the water purification system. So Batman's essentially trying to do is he's trying to match what he saw there with the device that was counting down to what it might be and what the big plan might be.
Mm-hmm.
So he realizes, basically in his research and looking at these files, he sees that last month someone stole the big version of this purification system. Basically, he was testing it out with Torchy Lagoon here. Torchy was going to poison the water supply with a smaller version of this device. There's a bigger version. With a bigger version, it's going to be like a wider target, like going after the whole city instead of one building. So this was like a test run. It was a test model, and unfortunately, he can't do a test run on the gas quite yet. So again, we're teasing who it is, and I think if you're a smart viewer, you're going to be able to put together real fast who the bad guy is. Sure,
yeah.
Now, if you know Batman, you know who it is.
So next scene, we have a man in the hospital babbling. He has red eyes, sharp. He's saying red eyes, teeth. Stay away, stay away. And the doctors are saying it's a massive fear reaction in the amygdala of the brain. And Batman shows up, and he needs to know what's affected him because it may have affected him too, and he needs to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. This is Doctor Wu he's talking to. So the doctor he was kind of mentioning from before. So Doctor Wu, and this is always
Not
something.
Dr. Henry Wu from Jurassic Park Dragon.
No, maybe his sister, but no. Okay, seriously though, so Doctor Wu here, and this is the thing you rarely do because usually we save the stuff for Leslie Tompkins, and I think it's because at the end of season one they just introduced her in the previous episode. I think they're just kind of like we don't want to. It'd be convenient if Leslie Tompkins is like in a hospital had this equipment.
Right.
So I think they're being smart about it. And for anyone who'd be questioning, I'd say Batman's probably swiping like the blood slide after when he pulls the bad exit. That'd be my guess anyway. So anyway, he's like removed his glove. He's kind of taking a blood, he's giving her a blood sample so she can, kind of put it under a microscope and see what affected him. Let's see.
So it turns out he's been exposed, but at a lower percentage.
Yes, which means it'll take longer to take full effect. Like the other guy, he got a huge breath of it, so he was instantly affected, and that's why he's freaking out. And Dr. Wu offers him the antidote. And the antidote essentially, now, I want to make it clear, she doesn't have like an antidote to what the gas is. The cure is it's a time release thing. He's got to weigh it out, and so it doesn't do harm to anybody. It's just basically got to have it be put under for a day or two.
Right, which when I saw that being brought up, I thought where the episode was going is we were going to have like a crazy dream sequence when he went under with the antidote for a second.
Oh boy, would have been.
Wouldn't that have been wild? Like
would have been wild.
8-hour dream. Anyways,
so Batman he pulls a bad exit away from. Basically, he's about to get lectured by because the Dr. Wu sees like he obviously doesn't want to like. Oh no, Batman, you got to rest. You can't just it's very dangerous for you to go out in your condition. Bad exit, but he took the antidote. He swiped it with him.
But not long after, he starts experiencing some pretty bad hallucinations where he basically runs over Robin in a horrific way and then crashes the Batmobile right off the side of a cliff, conveniently near Arkham.
Okay, now, to be fair, we know he's going to Arkham. We know why he's going to Arkham.
Yeah, sure.
And also, I just want to address the animation. This is a really well-animated wreck of the Batmobile. And again,
it is.
Loving this car. I mean, the car does get wrecked a couple times in the series, but my God, it's like, oh man, this poor glorious machine. Look at it, tipping over. But yeah, we don't go like uber like scary, but we go with like the startling scares a lot in this episode. Like Joker in the Batcave, Robin in the middle of the street. Like it's scary on a different level. And I like that.
Definitely.
The last time we did Scarecrow, we did monsters.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, we're doing like kind of fear stemming from
sort of like the Arkham Asylum video game style stuff, like psychological terror.
There you go. That's absolutely. Yeah. So it's really it feels. I'm looking for Kubrick on this, but I mean it feels like I guess it's maybe it's Misery. I'm looking for Misery on this. Basically, you get into the car wreck and then you're kind of dragged to safety. It feels very much like that, Like you're dragged, it's like okay, he's being dragged somewhere, but you have a feeling it's going to be somewhere really bad. And of course, reveal it's Arkham. So, all right. Okay, so
then
after
that, get caught up into the timeline. He's kind of babbling incoherently. He's like Joker's got a bomb. Joker's got a bomb.
Some people have theorized that's like a Jason Todd reference. Bear in mind, of course, there's no Jason Todd yet in the animated series, but that was just like a reference to like Joker blowing up Jason Todd, him like connecting Joker and Robin in a bomb. So
then we get more film noir narration. Some people say I'd gone mad. Others thought I always had been. Sorry. The mask is at root of all delusional fixation, so to take it off might plunge him into a catatonic state, says the doctor.
So I like that reasoning, and always had to contrive an excuse, but I'll buy it. I'd like it. Where Bartholomew, he's again, it kind of explains. There was a little bit of a plot hole in earlier episodes where we changed the fashion on our bad guys. Before, like in the early season, we had them in full costume, and as we go forward, like they'll have like their headpieces and their masks, but they'll be in like kind of a uniform, like asylum get up.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to think it's because of this reason. It's because again, it kind of helps maintain the illusion. Like it could put him in a state of catatonia, which I remember through Bates Motel, I kept predicting, like, oh my God, Norman's going to be in catatonia. It'll be horrifying. So it's that I like that. I like that logic. It makes sense. Like why we keep the mask.
Sure.
So anyway, because you got to imagine why the heck would they not
get caught up into the current timeline here?
Yes. So again, so Batman, he's been put into a cell, put into a straitjacket off screen. Now we're checking in with him.
Hmm. Let's see. He's kind of talking about how the entire city will be affected when the gas is put into the water supply, kind of begging, like, "Why won't you believe me?"
We have excellent lighting in this scene where Dr. Bartholomew he enters the room. We see Batman in silhouette, then like Batman with that one light coming down on him in the dark room. It's really good lighting.
Hmm.
And I got to tell you, so my issue with the episode is that Dr. Bartholomew, and again, I know it's part of the story we need this to happen. I got to tell you though, and Bartholomew, he doesn't necessarily get better as time goes on. So I can kind of say this about the guy. He's kind of an idiot.
Right,
I
right.
mean, Bartholomew disregarding completely Batman's claims. I find it's because it's hard to buy. I mean, one, Bartholomew, you live in Gotham. He's brought in all the other crazes in your asylum. And I mean, he warns you, call Commissioner Gordon, call Doctor Wu. Again, very valid sources, and again forces you. Okay, I'll give him the pass of like this early in the show. Maybe he doesn't know he's working with Gordon necessarily. Fine, but regardless, as we've seen in a show like him, cite Bates Motel once more. Norman, when he goes to an institution, his doctor does call and check in on these things.
Sure, sure.
That's not. You would at least think that he would call and check in on these things, just based on just based on like the randomness. Oh boy, that sounds awfully specific. Maybe I should check that out. So it's a buy that he doesn't at least give Batman the benefit of the doubt, because again, it's like, oh, he finally snapped. Well, again, no, he wrecked this car, and
No, no, Batman. This is just another delusion, and deep down, you know it.
that's what I'm saying. It's just ridiculous. And again, it's like a lot of skepticism from Bartholomew. Like also this is a big one. People love to draw to Tiki, is that we name drop a few of our villains'
Yes,
alter egos.
yes, we name dropped Jack Napier. I definitely put that in my notes. That was great.
So let me make it clear. So Paul Dini he corrected this, but what they did is they this is them early in season one, kind of pulling from the '89 of it all, and they just kind of I think it was just these writers who again had a little bit of experience with the Joker. Again, the initial story of this episode is kind of based on, I believe, the comic that they did from the obscure Joker thing I was talking about. They wrote a story called Mask, which later on has been kind of adapted better. But the point is, they're probably pulling from like kind of where the show's kind of drawing influence from here and there with '89. So they're figuring, okay, well, we got to list who are the main villains of the show. Well, Two-Face, so Harvey Dent's a no-brainer. Poison Ivy, and we don't have all the villains yet. So we have we have Joker. We have Joker, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and beyond that, we Killer Croc, which we barely know his name, Waylon Jones, which they didn't even name drop him, or Killer Croc Morgan. Like we got like one reference to that. So they have to go with an iconic name that people, especially recent Batman fans, who realize from '89. So okay, Jack Napier. So Jack Napier is only referenced twice in the entire series, so it's kind of stemming from that, and they kind of had the roll with it. And it wasn't even like they never go into like, hey, the known criminal Jack Napier turns into the Joker. They still kept the mystique about it. You'll see how when things go, when you get into later parts of the season,
Sure, sure.
There's a little thing. So everyone like says, "Oh, he was Jack Napier." No, he wasn't. Anyway, so let's see. So again, Batman tells him it's Crane. It's Dr. Crane. And Bartholomew's really shooting this down because
okay, this is the most idiotic that Bartholomew gets the whole episode. He's just like, "Well, I just checked in on Doctor on." I almost called him
Dr. Crane.
I almost called him Doctor Strange. I just checked in on Dr. Crane this morning. He's probably asleep as we speak. Like, really? You don't want to check? You don't want to check?
Yeah. And again, very simple way to prove he's crazy or not. Again, Crane kind of had an out for this, but regardless, you think he didn't really check after he said that. It took him like a lot of convincing to check.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah.
It's like this guy's a moron. He really is. It's right. God. So it's a no. So it's not looking good for poor Batman here. So we cut back to, again, mentioning Scarecrow. We cut back to Scarecrow in an unknown location. I like how we build to this. I like how we kind of realize, like, how the heck is Scarecrow pulling this off? That Scarecrow is expositing to his henchmen that he cleverly set Batman up. So while basically Batman's indisposed in Arkham while he's poisoning Gotham's water supply with the big purification device that he stole last month. and Batman's being put through a fate worse than death. And I love kind of the Doctor of Fear and kind of psychological manipulation. I love that he's
Much worse than that.
yeah.
Much worse than that.
I really do like this. I think this is a big upgrade. And I think you'd agree with me, too. This is an upgrade from the last Scarecrow plot.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, yeah.
And again, I didn't hate.
Scarecrow was bad per se. This is just it definitely like gets into the chilly nature of the character. You know, like deep down, you can make your blood run cold.
And I mean, this is a really good revenge plot for the Scarecrow, a guy who is in his own mind, he's a genius who's put in Arkham, and he just wants to conduct his fear experiments. I mean, I like the practicality of the whole gambling thing last time, but it really wasn't like it's not a good revenge story for Scarecrow. In this case, this is like putting Batman through what he deems as a fate worse than death, and I think that's a good kind of Scarecrow revenge plot for him.
Sure.
All right, so let's see. Oh yes, okay. Here's the big money. Oh, here's the scene.
All right, so the cell door opens. Batman walks out of the cell and into the start of Crime Alley.
Oh boy.
Kind of gets a slow-mo run as buildings start to engulf him visually. And then he's yelling at his parents. He's like, "Stop! Don't go in there!" Then what happens, Dragon? What monumental event do we get here?
So again, the staging of this is perfect, and again, we've definitely pulled this in the Arkham games. Again, it was one of the big iconic sequences from the series, especially when we referred to the.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And again, what they did is they skirted around that rule that they had of like we're never going to show the murder, but this makes it even more traumatizing than the initial Wayne murder of like a Batman who's fully grown. Batman, he's chasing his mom, dad. It's like a chance in Batman's own psychosis right now. It's like, hey, I can. It's kind of the hero's delusion of like I can save my parents if I can only get there in time. Like the cosmic joke is he would know it's fake, so he can't save his parents here. So he's running at full speed while everything's slowing down and pulling back around him in the alley. Well, that's in that alley, and he's trying to chase him down and warn him and warn him and warn him. And what we did here is really clever. Is I guess the idea is either in the tunnel or like on the other side of the tunnel. That's where like Crime Alley leads to, where the murder happens. So he runs and runs, and what we do is the tunnel. This is the trippiest image. This is the winning image of the episode, folks, where the street kind of splits apart and the buildings, crumble around him into like, and then there's and basically what we do is the tunnel rises, and then like the gaping opening of the tunnel that was like half cut off is now fully like a circle, and it rises, and we learn, you see as it's happening, he's surrounded by like one piece of street and fire below him, and the gun turns into the exact gun, like the exact revolver that killed his parents with blood. Kind of essentially, it's the way they got around is you have. I think that's why they had the fire here, Tiki, because they needed to explain how the water turned red, and I'm pretty sure that's why we have the fire.
Okay.
That's how they got away with it with the sensors, like with blood pouring out of the gun. That's a real trippy image, but it's. I'm pretty sure that's like their little like quote unquote. That's
yeah, I mean, just visually, like the way that the as you described, Dragon, you described it really well. The tunnel becoming the hole of the gun. It's a very stark, like, oh man, like, okay, we're really getting into some trippy visual territory here now.
And again, this image speaks volumes, even out of context. This image speaks volumes. But what we do is even more traumatizing after this. And again, this is the bit that gets me with that. So again, so Batman, he's in this really nightmarish moment right now. And again, Tiki, whatever happens, is always going to boil down to this. It's not even the gun. It's always going to boil down to those two shots. It's always going to be those two loud noises that are going to haunt Batman in his nightmares. Where the hammer, and oh my god, I love this. I love how this is staged in the animation. And the animation studio did an amazing job on this episode, if not for anything else than for this sequence alone, because the hammer clicks back. Batman and Kevin Conroy at like the most maddening he's ever he's like in a man whose sanity is being torn open. It's like no, and as he's screaming no, and we just the hammer clicks back, the trigger is pulled. It's like an executioner's blade, like the last bell tolling, bam, and we don't see the bullet or anything. What we do is like this gaping, this huge bombardment of light hits Batman, and Batman ceases to disappear within the light. And the image we reveal right after that, basically like the shot that kills, like both of his parents have walked into that tunnel, walked into the gun that killed them, and have been blown, they've been atomized right in front of him, taking Batman with him, taking his sanity with him in this moment. And what we see is Batman curled in a fetal position, in a straitjacket on the floor, reliving his trauma in a horrible way.
Yeah, yeah, and it speaks volumes about just kind of the traumatic effects that a mental institution can have on you, and the drugs that they give you in there. And
Yeah.
not to get political about it or anything, but just, I feel like it's almost kind of like a PSA of like, hey, if you're trapped in here with nothing but your thoughts, things are going to get like worse, not better.
And again, Batman, again, the images, I feel so much pity for Batman in that fetal position on the ground enduring this. You root for Batman so much in this episode.
Hmm.
Okay, so now, Batman, Batman's mad now. He's really pissed off, and I love that. He is then confronted by a very sheepish Dr. Bartholomew.
So yeah, Crane isn't actually in his cell, so it's okay though. He couldn't possibly have left the grounds.
No security is absolute. Batman's real. Again, I love that right after this, that's when Bartholomew walks in. I love that. Batman kind of regains his composure, just really ticked off at Bartholomew. And he's telling you, no security is absolute. He tried to tell him, and Bartholomew's like an idiot, wouldn't listen. Batman theorized. Again, I love, even after, and this is what I love about this character, all that willpower and all that, like, how Batman, he goes on, even enduring this. He theorizes, like, he's still the consummate detective once he kind of gets on his feet here, he says. He theorized that he's probably going after, where's Arkham's water supply? It's probably where he's going because he had the water purification thing. He says, well, there's Arkham Caverns. It's below the asylum, but that feeds into the Gotham's reservoir, and of course it all comes to fruition. Scarecrow not only has like an airtight alibi with, okay, he sneaks out of his cell and down to the basement essentially. And it feeds into all of Gotham, so he kind of has two birds with one stone. So it is a perfect plan. It's a much smarter plan than the last time we got with Scarecrow. I'll give him that.
Sure, sure.
So basically, so now we all know what's going on. Dr. Bartholomew, however, he still refuses to let Batman go because again, I guess I just think Bartholomew's too stupid to realize that Batman's been drugged by the Scarecrow. I mean, he's hallucinating. Maybe he could infer it, but I don't know. At this point, I'm just thinking Bartholomew might be more stupid than smart in this moment.
In your condition, Batman, you're staying right here.
And this is cool. Batman leaps over Bartholomew in a straitjacket. Really impressive. As Bartholomew, well, basically Bartholomew prepares the injection. We cut back from commercial as the last truck arrives for the pumping, basically pumping the gas into the water, so into the machine, into the water supply, vice versa.
And we see the 5-minute timer start to clock down,
which I think is accurate to the episode. I think it's about right. Oh yes, we have the Grim Reaper watch. I love this. It's kind of silly, and later on we get to see Scarecrow with the Grim Reaper's scythe. Like he has that in the comics a lot. It's kind of scary and given like added creepy kind of Freddy Krueger-esque kind of like metal to scrape on here and there. So anyway, so we cut back to our scene. So Dr. Bartholomew, he assures Batman the police will handle Crane. Oh, now you want to call the police. Now you've still on a hunch that something's going to be going wrong, right, Bartholomew? Anyway. So Batman, he kicks the syringe away, and essentially, after he takes out the guards, he does kind of this awesome leap to get out of the room. And then the little weasel hits the alarm button. Little Bartholomew hits the alarm button. So now the guards are called. Again, he's really attentive about Batman escaping. I'm sorry?
With Trent guns.
Yeah, with Trent
guns.
Yes, with the Trent guns, and I love this. Batman, with the Trent guns. See, Batman runs, he dodges some darts, and some of these darts, like they kind of go. I think one of them either goes through his cape or, well, basically he dodges one of them, like it goes into one of the other guards. He swipes an axe, and I love this. He swipes an axe, and he manages to free himself. Kind of cuts through the straitjacket. And this is the moment where he dodges the train. It goes through his cape or something, and hits the guard. He grabs the shooter. I love that. Like, right after, even though he was shot with a trank, after the gun experience he just had, he is not a happy camper. So he just grabs the shooter, and he's had enough of this. He says, "Take me to the basement now." And he bat cuffs the guy. He bat cuffs the guard as he breaks down the door with like a pipe. He bulldozes it, and he uses a flashlight again. Good old Batman with a flashlight going down a stairwell into the caverns. Really good stuff here. And again, all stuff we do see in the Arkham games and Batman Begins. Then we have another hallucination sequence. Not as trippy and awesome as the other one, but still really trippy and well animated. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
let's
he
see.
sees a Joker rat.
Oh yeah, that rat that turns into the Joker. That is creepy.
And then this is great, Dragon. It's more quick, but it's still like it's a pretty fun sort of visual like hallucination, and it does kind of make the episode stand out on an animation point of view. So basically, the Joker walks up to him. He conjures a giant penguin who puts up an umbrella over the falling debris in the cave. And then Penguin's head explodes into Two-Face.
So you know what's really creepy? They're so it's you're right. I mean that's it's a horrifying image, but I like the subtle details that are making this scary. It's like a rat that transforms into the Joker's head, then that rat becomes the full Joker. And here's like the subtle touch I think that makes it even more creepy is that Mark Hamill isn't doing the laugh on the Joker.
Oh God.
And that's kind of scary. I don't know. It's like because again, it's the Mark Hamill Joker, but it is he's
Uh-huh,
not doing the voice. They have Robin doing the voice of the Joker's laugh. They have Lauren Lester doing the Joker laugh, which is just really unsettling.
So we have Two-Face melts away into Ivy. Ivy stretches out her vine hands as Alfred and Robin come out behind her.
This is again more scares we got going on here with like Alfred and
Robin.
Robin against them.
Yeah. You've lived in darkness too long. Do come along, Master Bruce. It's time to go home.
And again, what I love with that too is in psychologically, that's kind of Batman's like the logic side of Batman's brain kind of activating right there. It's like he's saying that they had the profound like analysis of the whole dreams in darkness episode title of like, hey, you've lived in darkness, you fear becoming your villains, yada yada. You're living all you're haunted by your parents' death. And on the other side of it, you have come home, you're not well right now, you're hallucinating. And Alfred saying that is very much it's like, hey, your caretaker of all people, the mouthpiece. He's telling you come home now. It's Batman saying you cannot face the Scarecrow in this condition.
Mm-hmm.
So then there
So
he's
Batman
dragged.
falls down I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying like he's dragged across with
Yeah.
those long vine arms, and
He falls down a chasm, and Scarecrow starts to monologue to himself. How does it feel, Batman? How does it feel now that you're all alone with your thoughts?
now here's a subtle touch that I still in the rewatch way back when the first time I rewatched this, it always struck me, and I always loved. It's always the creep, and these are the creepy little details I'm talking about. They got so
I
right.
think I know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
As Batman falls, it's Conroy's screaming, but what we do is we under it's like we I don't know which one's on top. I think Conroy's voice is on top, and we lay within the tract of him screaming on the way down is a kid's voice. So the idea is Bruce Wayne is like he's falling down, if not falling down like the bat, what the whole bat Bruce Wayne falling down the Batcave and he discovers the Batcave and such. What we're really doing is just it's Bruce Wayne falling and the kid who was just orphaned in the earlier sequence, like
Dragon, that was not the subtle touch that I was thinking of, but that's very creepy. Too. That freaks me out a little bit.
Right? That is creepy, right?
Yeah, the subtle touch that I was thinking of, Dragon, is that at the end of all this trippy hallucination, we see a lone bat. And to me, it's implied that all of the hallucination was triggered by Batman seeing that one bat.
Yeah, you're right. Because here's the thing: after he falls, he comes to, and then what we see is the bat. We see that that lone bat you're talking about, and of course, the lone bat is going to come into play later in the episode. But you're right. I don't. A part of me, I think that centers him. I think that it's kind of like the thing that centers him after all that. But I like your theory. I think it's a touch that I don't think you're necessarily wrong about that.
Well, we'll get to it with the ending, but I feel like there's kind of the yin-yang quality to the bat with the ending.
I mean, you're right. And if anything, Tiki, what I also think is I think that kind of fits in with like the Bruce Wayne falling into the Batcave thing. The kid falls in the cave and he sees the bat. So Batman, he's fallen in a cavernous location, and when he comes to, he sees a bat. So we're kind of, again, this episode, what it did in that early hallucination, we're not doing the Batman origin like linearly, but we're doing it. We're doing a really, we're doing a really creepy referential thing. I really appreciate that on a rewatch. I think it's cool. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have 3 minutes left.
Okay, so 3 minutes and counting. Let's see. The entire city's going to be screaming in fear. I wonder if we'll be able to hear it. Dragon, I love the writing on the Scarecrow. He's got such menacing dialogue like that. Just subtly terrifying.
Oh, yeah, that's Scarecrow done right for you, Tiki. Mm-hmm. And He throws it. Batman. I love this. I love how Batman breaks the watch. He breaks his fancy Grim Reaper watch with the Batarang.
You've run out of time, Scarecrow. This experiment in terror is over.
Nice. So Batman shuts down the count. He reminds. This is cool. I love. This is a fun little moment here where Scarecrow reminds his cowering henchmen, like, "Oh, we don't want to fight
Exposed
Batman."
to the gas. He'll be terrified of you.
So we have very kind of mask animated series looking zombies kind of going after Batman. And this is cool. I love how Batman's using his brain in this fight. This is great. Where Batman, he knows he's going to be kind of, and at this point again, after that experience, Batman's kind of come to, and he's realizing, okay, if I fight these guys, I might definitely be at a disadvantage, like hallucinating. But he basically blows. He grabs a microphone and he whistles at a high frequency, and he knows they're all wired up like the guy from earlier. So he tosses them around once they're kind of taken out.
Yeah, really clever.
And Scarecrow jumps over a railing, and I'm sure a water purification system does not look like this, but I love the liberty they took because it looks really awesome. It's like a little, it's kind of GI Joe-esque, It's like the staging of this whole thing, like Scarecrow leaps over. It's like a playset you'd buy for like something like GI Joe or like
right.
I don't know. So he jumps over the side, and he uses like the backup thing that engages the count. So now it's the timer's back on. And Batman looks over the side again, like all fear is striking him. Like basically any spike in adrenaline that Batman's having now is like activating like a fear that he has conquered time and time again. So now he has like a fear of heights suddenly. Like, and so as the count resumes, Batman kind of conquers that fear one at a time. He jumps down there. He reaches for the wire, and the wire turns into like a really scary snake.
I hate snakes, Jock. I hate them.
Master Bruce, who are you speaking to? I'm not Jock.
Oh, sorry,
yes.
Alfred. I've been watching too much Indiana Jones in my spare time.
Get off my plane.
Not Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I hope, sir.
Right. Anyway, so Batman reaches for the wires, knowing that it looks like a snake. I love he kind of like chokes the life out of the snake for a moment. It's like, it's kind of a comedy bit almost.
Mm-hmm.
He rips the coil out of the machines, and then the machine's like going haywire and everything. And then again, because in animation they really Bruce Timm loves explosions, and you'll notice anytime like machinery or anything goes haywire like this, an explosion is not far behind. So Batman grapples away before the explosion, and as the thing explodes, there's a huge gas leak coming from that, and it doses the Scarecrow, and the Scarecrow runs away afraid. And we have the ultimate kind of karma here, and this is nice, where now Scarecrow is in a straitjacket in Batman's position from earlier in the episode. And I love that that's an image that I'm reading into this, bear in mind, but I took away from it on a rewatch that it's justice, but not after what we saw Batman go through with Bartholomew and the whole doubting his sanity and all that stuff. A part of me pitied the Scarecrow in this moment. A part of me saw that Arkham's not making him better, and Arkham allowed him to do all this. So it's like he's in a straitjacket and he's terrified, and he's not going to recover easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Batman can stop. It speaks to the revolving door effect of Arkham. And I like that you can see, like, putting him in the straitjacket gives you that effect. You could see it as justice, or you could see it as, like, a continuing problem that's not getting fixed with guys like Bartholomew in charge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. So after that, Dr. Bartholomew, he admits that, Batman was right. And again, I doubt that he's sorry about that. I think they just threw that line in there for the kids. Just saying, so we can trust authority. Well, come on, guys.
Oh, man.
Anyway, we end Tiki, take us through the end of the episode.
Sure. So Bruce is preparing to go under for for the 2-day time period, basically taking the antidote. And Alfred is Alfred's very supportive, of course, and he's basically being like, it's good to have you back, sir. And then Bruce is he's like, well, it's good to know that I'm safe here, Alfred. And then Dragon, this is a symbolism I'm talking about that makes me think that the bat triggered the earlier kind of hallucination attack. is we see the bat kind of return in the Batcave, and it forms a silhouette around Batman. It forms basically a silhouette of the bat symbol around Batman. And to me, Dragon, that kind of almost is a full circle kind of Batman facing his fear of bats, and now he's strong. He's more strongly identified with Batman and with the symbol of the bat than ever before. And I think that makes it even more appropriate, being as though this is the finale of season 1. So that makes it even more full circle.
That's true, and I think you're on the money with that, except there's one thing. I still take your meaning on that. However, I always notice that the episode ends with that bat. It does have the bat symbol, like, in shadow over Bruce in the Batcave. But I always loved the touch that the bat kind of rests as Batman is resting. Like the wings are extended, then they close. And I think the yin yang of it all would be that it's kind of like, instead of the kid who's terrified of the bat coming at him, it's the bat kind of like, in a less threatening position, in a resting position, basically showing that it has more in common with, kind of its namesake in Batman. It's
Sure.
I mean, that's it's nice.
Okay, so final thoughts, Dragon. Just to keep it brief, this is definitely among my favorite of the episodes we've seen in season 1. It really sticks out. It's kind of a perfect finale because it really, for as little as I know about season 2, I know season 2 there's going to be some heavy hitters in terms of like what if scenarios and trippy dream sequences and stuff like that. So I feel like this is just kind of a fascinating blueprint to sort of go off of, and it's really fascinating to kind of see some of these really iconic shots. Like, you see, I had no idea that the Batman stepping out of the shadows thing was so iconic. So, again, this is kind of thing that I sort of was hoping for with the format of animated Batcave to begin with, Dragon. This was a very informative episode for me, a very telling, where, I really feel like I've learned a lot about, the perception of this episode, the intent of the episode. So thank you, sir. This has been quite a ride, and suffice to say, I am very, very excited moving forward, because I feel like we finally earned, we basically ate our vegetables, Dragon, and now it's time to get to this delicately crafted, fine-tuned dessert.
Yeah. So I think it's a good season ending. Bear in mind, whenever they have an ending for the season, they're years later, when they were doing Justice League, when the animated series team was kind of lumped in with the teams from the other shows, down the line, after a show like Batman, they start to build the DCAU. They do other DC shows. You do Batman, you do Superman, you do a little bit of Batman Beyond, and eventually you get the big reward of doing something like Justice League, and particularly Justice League Unlimited and such that follows. And all of that, like that Justice League era, is when they built up enough credentials to end the season the way they want to. Like every season of Justice League ended with like a big, like they knew exactly how to plot. They plotted their seasons. They tied things together. In the early years, and basically kind of building things up in this first season is the beginning of everything. TV. This season, and production-wise, they knew this was going to be like, their ending. In terms of when this aired, I can't speak to that. And in the release of these, they always released them oddly. Like technically, this might not have aired as the season finale, but it was produced as the finale. And looking at it that way, you got to imagine whether or not it kind of was intended to be this way. Is that kind of in the animated series, they kind of end where they end. They don't really have a lot of control over that. Again, with the whole airing schedule and everything. But at the very least, they produced this after having the other episodes that we have talked about in their sequence, as they've had those under their belts. And I think you see the growth, you see where they went with it, and by the end, they've come around. They've learned, like, we can tell a Batman story in a way that's that's not just like going through the stuff that people would expect from Batman, or like kind of the obvious Batman stories. That we can take, like, okay, the origin of Batman, we can tell it in a way that doesn't like halt the episode, doesn't like go back, doesn't like kind of like doesn't serve as like an exposition dump. It serves as a Batman story that shows us the layers of Batman, what we like about the guy, and so it's a good end for the season in that regard. An exploration of Batman's psychology. It's taking a classic premise, again, the man in the insane asylum, but with Batman. And again, well, I'll say this: it's not the most complex in premise because of the age-old premise. But it's very well executed, and again, as we've seen in the history of Batman, this episode, whether it's like in the top 10 or not for a lot of people, I mean, usually people would put it like at the 10 spot, or like it's in the 10 or like an honorable mention. This episode's important. it may not begin because we had a lot of standouts in season 2. A lot of the big standouts are in season 2, and of course like your Two Faces and your Heart of Ice in season 1.
Sure, sure.
It's very fondly remembered, and there's a lot of reverence for this episode. It's important and it's very valued. So, Tiki, I'm going to say this before I get into the old Bill Dozier of it all. Here's the build to that. Okay. So, folks, as we alluded to earlier, I'm proud to announce that Tiki,
Yes.
you are now ready. You're now ready for the blue meth of Batman the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series at its most perfected, purified state. That's right, folks. Next thing we're doing on Animated Batcave is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. So, folks, getting into some Bill Dozier here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was confused if you were going to do Bill Dozier or not. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to, folks. Oh, boy.
But I appreciate it, Dragon. I appreciate the honor, sir. It's been an honor talking about this series with you. You've been a great guide.
So officially, in front of all these people, I'm just going to commend Tiki. He's stuck with it. He's gotten to the end. He's about to get his cake. So in Coco fashion, I'd say I give him my blessing to watch Mask of the Phantasm. So
I give you my blessing.
I give you my blessing to watch Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
All right.
Quote Mama Melda, my favorite character from Coco. Okay, so Bill Dozier of it all for the biggie, folks, for the biggie. Also, and just to announce it, because if there's any sticklers out there, yes, I know Phantasm in continuity. It's towards like the halfway point of season 2, but it's after the first year, and we've kind of endured a lot. I've built up Phantasm. The poor boy's filming at the mouth for it, so we're going to do Phantasm. Then we're going to get into season 2, just so everyone knows where we're at. Okay. A new vigilante in town. Batman framed for murder. A love story too. Can Batman solve the case of the Phantasm? Could Bruce Wayne's past hold any clues? Find out. Next animated Bat time, same animated Bat place.
On the next visit to the animated Batcave. I'm ready for Phantasm.